What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. I want to thank my sponsor, Steel Supplements. Link and discount code down in the description. You also know I'm a Weeble preferred devoter. Best promotion in the pen comment. All you have to do, go click the link, open an account. They will give you free stock. If you deposit $1 or any amount, I know I always say $1, but you could deposit any amount. They will give you more free stock. I want to talk about two things that you might have overlooked in the Madden trailer that I think are pretty insulting to gamers and football fans because they really question our intelligence with this. So we're taking a look at the first clip that we see, and you can see the halfback here is pointing, and this is common for a ball carrier to point out a block. So he's pointing at corner, safety, doesn't really matter, but you can definitely see an offensive lineman is running downfield. Now, what I find so interesting is, despite pointing out the block, a block never actually occurs. Instead, what happens is the lineman actually engages, and there's some clipping, there's some warping, and an animation where he's pushing the ball carrier forward. So what was the point in slowing down to point out the defender if you were just going to push the ball carrier into the end zone? Now, that's really not the way this is designed to work, but more importantly, when we watch this angle, if we're talking about organic gameplay, why is the ball so far away from the player? If you actually have a mind in this game, like they say, why wouldn't you protect the ball more at the goal line? Very Tiki Barber-like. Now, to this point, I want to talk about what's happening behind this, because if you look, it's pretty clear what's happened. You have a lineman down at the goal line, okay? So when I look in the background, I'm really questioning what is a lineman doing way back there, and what is a receiver doing way over here, where they're clearly way far away from the play, and yet you have an offensive lineman trying to block a player out of the secondary. When we pan out, look at these awful player models, you can see again, this player or receiver clearly so far behind the play, he's up to celebrate. That to me seems like something that would be staged by EA to make gameplay look improved, because there's no reason that a lineman would be at the goal line with so many other players back behind. Now let's move on to something a little bit more important to every single play you have in Madden, and that is pursuit angles. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. So when you get away from these camera angles that they intentionally use to hide the game, I want you to take a look at what's going on back behind here, because there's some interesting movement with the defenders and the offensive players. So I want to focus primarily on the Minnesota Viking right here. And I want to ask why, if you can make a connection between the two, all of a sudden he is running at such a hard angle over. Because this right here, when you take a look at the quarterback versus you take a look at this lineman, tells us all we need to know. Players that can't pursue properly have issues running downfield. And lastly, we're going to talk about this play right here because, well, I know some people will say this is nitpicking, but to me, if we've got animations out of the game, we've got physics-based anything, what in the world is happening downfield on this? Is it a block? Look at these two players just slam together and fall. This is an offensive lineman clearly hitting a player out of the secondary, if not a linebacker, and I just don't see that movement and reaction being realistic or readable. How are you going to read a block where two players just kind of careen off each other? Yet that is what they show in this trailer. And so much of this harkens back to, I remember with Madden 21, when we talk about the way they sell this game, the sleight of hand, right? They had an opportunity to be honest with us about player intelligence. And rather than do that, they edited clips together to make Lamar Jackson look as if he was running toward the end zone and then stretching the ball out. And when you think about that moment there and understand that we're still not there yet, it really is sad. Every year, EA has to hide its game from you. That's what I want you to take out of this the most. I understand some people will look at this and say, well, it's just the trailer. It's just nitpicking. No, to me, nitpicking would be going after the uniforms being wrong. But to me, the uniforms being wrong, while it's a small nitpick, offer a lot of insight to what's actually being done here. See, the reality becomes this. You're looking at the last generation game being used on a dev kit to create a trailer. That's what EA does. They're not playing a console version of this game. They're playing it on a dev kit. And it truly is the same game. We see it in the assets, we see it in the movement, we see it in the gameplay. Now, they're hiding the gameplay a lot from us now because, for the most part, they don't want us to know that it is majority the same game. But I will offer that they can continue to work on the game and try to get it better, but only if they're honest with us about what is wrong with the game. Last year was supposed to be a complete sell-in. Last year was supposed to be, we're not going to make any big changes, and instead we're going to polish and refine this game. And you can see if they had done that, we wouldn't be able to sit here and talk about blocks that don't make sense, players that are pointing players out to be blocked that aren't blocked, animations that clearly are in the game in place specifically to have determined outcomes, and of course, pursuit angles that have been historically broken in this game. Players that don't know where to run, when to run, in some cases, how to run. And that so much takes away from the experience this game should be providing. Now listen, we've been told they're going to do some changes this year. They're going to bring back Superstar Mode. That's fantastic. But I also want to understand that no matter what they bring back, unless it's on an improved base, then this is simply just rehashing things we've already had. You know, the ideology that this community has wanted minigames back in Madden is just about 10 years old. So the fact that they're bringing them back now, yes, it should be championed, but it should be championed with optimism of, you've spent 10 years listening to us want simply minigames back. Have you been building a better game around it so when they came back, we had a better experience as a gamer? And I truly don't believe that. Because to be fair, if you're going to talk about just listening to what the gamer has wanted, everything we've asked for from a franchise perspective is in head coach. And at this point, the consoles are more than capable of simply running head coach independently on the disc and letting it be standalone from Madden. Take a strategy game, take gameplay out of it, and just allow us to have a standalone franchise mode. Instead, they try to interweave all these game modes together. All of these failed game modes in some cases, where you have the yard, you have all these different things that people haven't used. And I'm talking about long shot. Game modes that have come and went while we've asked them to simply bring things back that we've wanted in the game for the longest time, and now seemingly that all of those things are gone, it's okay to bring them back. But we also know it's not so much about all those things being gone, it's about this was the make or break year. This is the year that truly jobs are on the line. They need a satisfied gamer. They need a happy customer. That's why there's half off. That's why they're finally, at least to a certain degree, listening to us. But also, that's why they're trying harder than ever to disguise this game as improved. I've seen a lot of people come out and say that EA has told them they're not allowed to give feedback on the beta. Now, I've seen some people have given feedback. I've seen some people haven't gave feedback. But I think we all know that there's a group in the community that accepts the beta simply as the beta, sips the trailer simply as the trailer, and says at this point the game will be perfect when it releases. But the reality is, to everyone that sits there and says that in anyone's comment section, not just mine, if the game had improved from the beta, if the game had improved from the trailer, then we wouldn't be at a point where the game is broken in the beta and trailer now. And that is why we have no faith in this company giving us a quality football game. When I think back to my time at EA, so much has not changed in this game. Those wish lists that I might even be able to go back and pull from a decade ago have so many things left unchecked. Yet we have sat here as a community and seen other games come in and do incredible things. We know what's possible in sports games. MLB The Show has shown us animation quality, world quality, replayability, the ability to go in and make every game replicated. And I don't mean 5 weeks after that game's played. I mean later on that day. They really have set the standard of what gamers expect from a live service. And last year, Madden was the worst live service game available. You had a handful of updates, and some of them didn't even come until the season was nearly over or the playoffs had started. That's not acceptable this year. EA has more work to do this year after years of not doing work in the past. And to me, the one fear I have is the more we've seen EA has to work, the more things break, the more things crash, the more things have issues, glitches, failures. So I'm going to sit here and tell you what I've told you just about every single year. This year will be the worst year. Yes, I said that last year, and it got to the point where franchise completely broke. To the point that gamers lost their files, and EA had to give 50% off, and nothing was on the line. This year, employees at EA have their jobs on the line, and you think they're not going to be just as frantic, just as desperate to rush out patches and fixes to the same point that the game will ultimately have failure points in it yet again? That's the conversation we need to remember. EA isn't making the game better for us now because they want to make the game better for us. They're making the game better because finally their jobs are on the line. Finally, they've seen all the years of mediocre product, all the years of Metacritics that are an embarrassment. They're coming back to actually show them this is a poor product. And yes, it's unfair that they probably don't have the proper tools to work with. Yes, to a degree, it's unfair that a lot of the issues the game has are inherited from 20 years ago, it seems. But the reality is, if any of these people didn't feel confident or capable in doing their job, there's a door they can walk out just as easily as they walked in. And this is going to be the year that hopefully the NFL sees. The customer is fed up with a poor product. Just like they were fed up with every other poor iteration of the sport. Just like they demanded innovation from DirecTV's deal, they're going to demand innovation on the gaming space. And hopefully we can get to a point where in the marketplace, we have competition. And you know what? If EA can make the best football game, I'll be the first one to sit here and tell you they made the best football game. But to me, the reality will be EA not making the best football game. And perhaps a developer we don't even know coming in and showing us what is capable with the game. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you watching this video. You know I will be back in the week with more commentary.